The government says they don't know the origin of these drones.
There are still a lot of questions about not just what they are, but also how to respond to them.
These mysterious objects aren't just flying anymore, they are even in the ocean.
The skies are not classified.
They could be from the oceans.
We are not alone.
We're definitely not alone.
If the American public knew how deep this lie went, we would have a crisis on our hands.
What is lurking in the depths of the oceans? Explorers have reported anomalous sightings in the water since the 11th century.
I think it is something that is probably reconstructed on the spot. Not surprised that we have found a crashed UFO in the Baltic Sea.
Soaring above it.
I saw something strange, a tic-tac incident.
It was something that couldn't be explained, and then they saw it enter the water.
What we saw, we have nothing close to it. I told my buddy I wanted to fly it.
Members of the US government are blowing the whistle.
What you're saying is that these objects underwater, these bases underwater, they are non-human. You're clear about that?
That would be my belief, yes, sir.
And are we being sabotaged from exploring it?
Are you now saying there is a portal, a tear in the sky?
Our GPS, with the broadcasting, what our ADS-B data we call it, keeps disappearing. We keep disappearing.
We now have more evidence that there is something strange in the Catalina area.
Tonight, is the water something to be feared?
Sat there the rest of the night with a gun in my hand waiting for something to come creeping out of the water.
We've seen some crazy stuff today.
Or does it hold the answers to the great UFO mystery?
Do you think we are being lied to by the government of the United States?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I do.
In this special edition of Reality Check with Ross Coulthart, Underwater UFOs. G'day and welcome to a special edition of Reality Check on NewsNation. I'm your host, Ross Coulthart, reporting to you from Australia. In fact, near one of my favourite Sydney beaches, Coogee. Los Angeles is 7,500 miles in that direction. I've reported extensively for NewsNation on unidentified anomalous phenomena, UAPs, that great existential question, are we alone? In this special hour, we're turning our focus from the skies to the depths of the ocean across this planet, to another great mystery, unidentified submerged objects. We're taking you underwater. With reports for you from an explorer in the Baltic Sea, showcasing footage never before seen on television. Plus, a correspondent in Southern California taking us on camera into depths like never before. With a UFO witness sharing mysterious video and never before heard stories about what's happening off the coast of the United States. A bombshell new report and videos from a prominent UFO reporting app. And we hear from a retired Navy Rear Admiral and a congressman who believes there is so much more to this planet than we understand. We start by turning to Dennis Asberg, a Swedish deep dive explorer and co-founder of the Ocean X team, renowned for discovering the mysterious Baltic Sea anomaly in 2011. This strange, massive underwater formation is perhaps the biggest underwater UFO mystery to date. Approximately 200 feet wide and resting on the ocean floor. Debunkers say it must be a natural rock formation. But Dennis Asberg and his team say what they felt in the area is truly anomalous. That's why they're still out there in the water, hunting now in the Baltic Sea near Russia and Finland for underwater UFOs. On his recent expedition, diving into the depths. finding underwater submarines, shipwrecks,
I don't even know what it is.
and seeing strange things in the sky.
Okay, drop out.
In 2011, Asberg and his Ocean X team discovered something mysterious on the ocean floor, a possible non-human structure.
I mean, the first time we saw it, that was the experience, because we have never seen anything like that before.
The object's now known as the Baltic Sea anomaly. In the decade since making the discovery, only more questions have been brought than answers. What is it? How old is it? How did it get stranded at the bottom of the ocean? But the hardest question of all to answer, where did it come from? And are there others in our oceans?
When we got close to the area, suddenly we had several ships on the radar, or it looked like several ships on the radar, but there were no ships there.
The strange thing was, before we started filming, they were there all the time. They did not get away or disappear or anything.
Asberg and his team have been documenting the strange occurrences and phenomena he and his team encounter when they approach the site of the anomaly. I recently talked to Dennis Asberg about the Baltic Sea anomaly. I asked him if he thinks the anomaly is something that can be naturally occurring, or if he believes the object's an interstellar mystery.
Lots of people have sent messages to me that this is Millennium Falcon you have found, and yeah, it's not, but it is something for sure. That's why I'm struggling with it.
Tell me the story of how you discovered this object.
Yeah, we are an explorer company, treasure hunters, you can say also. Diving with salvage shipwrecks around the world and cargo from shipwrecks. We have scanned for like 2.5 hours, and then this thing popping up on the monitor. And I remember we were quite surprised, and Peter, my colleague, is looking at me and say, "Dennis, you know, here it's a UFO." And I just, what?
Why couldn't it be just a big lump of rock?
That's very interesting rock then. Nothing I have seen before, not my colleagues around the world that are explorers as me. You know, I put lots of time to see if I can get any answer from people that work with the same thing as I do. And nobody had really come up with a good answer.
You noticed other anomalies when you were on site. You had all sorts of weird things happening over the object. Can you talk me through what happened?
Yeah, lots of things have happened out there. The first time we were out there, we noticed that we have problems with our equipment. The ROV did not work properly. Even his camera stopped working, the light stopped working. And I, when we talked about that, I said, okay, we have the same problem with the ROV, with the robot. The compass not working properly, and it feels like this thing or whatever it is don't want us to come near it.
It's not just happening in the depths of the ocean. Hundreds of miles from land, people all over the world are seeing mysterious orbs hovering around large bodies of water, from large coastal cities to small town beaches.
There's no strobe lights on it, which is weird.
That video came from Enigma Labs, which bills itself as the first real-time UAP sightings alert network, allowing users to upload their sightings to the video sharing platform. They recently released a report detailing thousands of strange sightings in waters around the world. They say their goal is to collect evidence in hopes of one day explaining the inexplicable. Congressman Tim Burchett is a vocal skeptic of the official US government position on UFOs, that all of these sightings are some kind of gigantic hoax perpetrated by the Pentagon. This is the lawmaker who wants to expose the truth. The congressman from Tennessee believes in USOs. He's the co-chair of the bipartisan UAP caucus, which he launched to look into allegations UFO whistleblower David Grush made in his interview with me about a legacy crash retrieval program being hidden by the US government. Burchett has helped lead multiple congressional hearings looking into an alleged cover-up, working to strengthen whistleblower protections. He's very keen on the idea that some or many of these UFOs are coming from underwater. You've been quite outspoken on the subject of USOs. Why is that? What prompted your interest?
Well, my conversations with pilots, and they seem to always be over water. And then a chance conversation I had with a former admiral, or I guess you're always an admiral if you're one, about these 5 or 6 deep water areas. And it just seemed to make sense. That's where you're seeing a lot of the observations of the UFOs. And then when I'm told something big as a football field is moving at 200 miles an hour underwater, when I know the best we have is around 30, it lends itself to a lot more questions than answers.
I understand you've spoken to people who are direct witnesses to claims that there are objects that have been detected underwater moving at hundreds of miles an hour. What more detail can you give me on these particular incidents?
Well, of course, it's done by sonar, and the fact that we have nothing in those capabilities. And if you shoot a bullet literally into a swimming pool, it's going to go just a few feet before it just stops. But you can shoot it through the air and it can go over a mile. And it just shows you the amount of friction and the amount of power that would have to have. But also it lends itself to why we keep seeing these things over water and then things that dive into the water.
One of the things you've spoken about is the speculation of underwater bases, not human bases, but bases by non-human entities. What can you tell me about what you've been told?
Well, that the concentration would be such that that's where they would be, and that we have not been able to explore any of these areas. If you just look at the numbers of sightings out over the ocean, it just seems to lend itself to that. And if you wanted to be undisturbed, where you wouldn't go in the middle of New York City or Knoxville, Tennessee, you'd go, although there's some strange things I've seen here, you would go where you would be least disturbed. And so the most unexplored area and the vastness of our great oceans is kind of hard to comprehend at some point.
You've speculated about 5 or 6 bases of non-human entities. Where did you get that number from?
From some Navy officials that had, in fact, had broached that subject to me. I always remember the last thing this one fellow said, because you've been in my office, but you come in one door and you can go out the other if you choose. And nobody ever does. They just go out the entrance they came up. He chose to go out the other door so he could kind of get away from all the other. And the last thing he said was, he looked at me and said, "Tim, they're real." And I'll never forget that. And it led me to believe that he had more information.
And to be very clear about this, Tim, what you're saying is that these objects underwater, these bases underwater, they are non-human. You're clear about that?
That would be my belief, yes, sir. We don't have the capabilities of traveling there or doing anything else.
Clearly, something is operating in our oceans very close to the continental United States. And as you've speculated, it's perhaps using it for some kind of surveillance.
100%. That's the only reason that would be doing it. When the numbers go up and then they drop off to almost nothing, and then you have these clusters that occur, and that would lead you obviously to believe that something is observing us, or we're observing something and we're observing them. But I guess it still just bothers me that our government won't come forward with it, because and the guys on the intelligence committee. I think in gals, I think you have a few in there that just wanted to dissuade us from finding out what the real truth is.
Well, let's go to basics, Tim. Do you think we are being lied to by the government of the United States about the nature of these threats from the ocean?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I do. I think we're being lied to about a lot of things. I am the part of the government, and I don't trust it. I don't trust what's going on. You have to ask yourself, why are we being told to keep quiet? Why the secrecy? And it lends itself to Washington in itself. It's about power. It's about control. It's about secrecy. And therein lies some of the power and control over all of us. And I suspect all governments across the globe are the same way.
What do you think is President Trump's position on this? Do you think he's still amenable or open or receptive to the idea of being more open about UAPs as he promised during his campaign for the second administration?
I think he is. I still think he is. I've put a lot of faith and trust in mine and his relationship. I don't bother him about stuff all the time. I've asked for a 15-minute meeting with him, and I would like to discuss. There's 2 or 3 things I want to bring up to him that I think would go a long way, and one of those is this issue.
Still to come on this special edition of Reality Check, we head to Southern California with special instructions to map deep caverns off the coast of Los Angeles. And why this former Trump administration official says California could be home to a secret underwater UFO highway. Welcome back to this special edition of Reality Check. I'm your host, Ross Coulthart. Our correspondent, Ben Hansen, is a UFO hunter in his own right. We sent him off the coast of Southern California with a mission to interview witnesses and use high-tech equipment to take us under ocean waters.
Now we have Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet. Now he's been a member of our team for quite some time because of his expertise in so many things. I mean, NewsNation is not a stranger to the Rear Admiral here. He was the admin of NOAA. He's has a doctorate in oceanography. And for these reasons, we'd like him to weigh in on what we're about to do here. So, Tim, thanks so much for joining us. We're here actually a couple miles offshore of Redondo Beach. And the information that you sent me about the Redondo Canyon, I'd like to ask you a couple questions about that.
Well, so I did some research here in a fairly recent paper on the sedimentary processes in this region. Was published in about 10 years ago here in Marine Geology. And this is a really interesting paper because these authors used all the modern instruments that are at our disposal. So we're talking what they call multi-beam bathymetry or multi-beam sonar, and also autonomous underwater vehicles that have side scan sonar on them. So they have some highly resolved data sets that are worth digging into. So first off, here's the big overview of the area we're looking into. Yeah. You have Santa Monica Bay, and then it's got yet one canyon, Santa Monica Canyon, and then the Redondo Canyon. And then another view straight on is here. And so, yeah, there's
oh, wow.
Look at the top. If I were a USO and I wanted to hide somewhere, this is a great place to do it. And you see the steep structures here on the canyon walls. Now, granted, there is one thing. These are very active areas, so they're often these turbidity flows or landslides underwater. So a lot of activity to conceal any movement by any craft. So this would be the place to be.
And Admiral, doesn't this connect? The end of this Redondo Canyon connects to the wider Catalina Channel. Is that correct?
That's right. Let's go back a little bit. And this is really interesting. So first off, this red circle is the region I recommended you go dive on. And you can see it. It just pretty much goes right to the offshore region, the Santa Monica Basin and Catalina Channel, where I showed you earlier. This is the area where a lot of UAPs have been seen by Navy ships and others. So yeah, it's basically it's kind of like a monorail route right into the region UAPs have been sighted. That's why I think it'd make for an ideal place of concealment, coming from offshore and going into this canyon. And so I know Navy pilots well, and their attitudes. And he joked. He said, "I don't know what it is, but I sure would like to fly it."
We have Oceanbotics with us. They've been very gracious to lend us their latest and greatest. We will let you know if we find anything. I've been told we even have sonar and a grabber arm on the bottom. Now, I don't think we're going to grab anything at the bottom, but who knows?
So we're about 5 miles offshore of Redondo Beach, and we're following the GPS coordinates that Admiral Gallaudet gave us. We're hoping to put in here at about maybe 900 feet and start drifting so that we can get somewhere. Your tether goes to about 1,000. We need a couple hundred feet though to maneuver in. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And it looks like it has some pinchers on there.
It does. We have a mechanical grabber, so if we see something of interest and we want to bring it up to the surface, we can inspect it.
Can it grab a 20 or 30 foot saucer disc and bring it up?
Depending on the weight and water, yes it can.
I think the main goal here is to see from our perspective how far and fast this canyon drops off and what it looks like. All we have are maps from the top side.
All right, on 3. 1, 2, 3.
You are free, little ROV. Go forth and find us UFOs.
Our field of view right now, I would say, is probably 20 feet there. And then on the sonar, we have it set to 100 feet in front of us.
100 feet, but can the lights let us see about what, 20 feet?
About 20 feet of visibility right now. Okay. Right now we are 8 feet from the surface. We're all the way down now. Look at all those fish.
Whoa, that is awesome.
It's a whole school right there, 5 feet from the bottom.
Whoa, everywhere. They're coming to the light, probably.
I think so. I'm in it.
That. Everything I'm seeing around is very silty. Viz is really quite bad until you get right down to it.
Yeah, because we're so deep that there's no light from the sun anymore.
So as you're going along there, is it going deeper? We're heading back towards into the canyon from the shallow end?
It is getting deeper.
Okay. Yep. And then you just hit bottom and it created a cloud of dust.
Yeah.
I can see why the Admiral says, you know, like inside the canyon itself, this has experienced probably a lot of like landslides.
I can see that.
Over thousands of years, and the erosion has just created like a silty bottom.
There's an urchin.
Yep. Which also causes it to be really low vis, I imagine. Right? When I think canyon, I'm thinking like rock walls, which probably there are those as well. But the actual inside of the canyon looks very silty to me.
A lot of sand and silt.
Yeah. Which further adds to the theory that something could hide here quite easily. It's not just the depth of it, it's the fact that our lights, as powerful as they are, we're only seeing about 20 feet ahead of us, if that.
Yeah, it's natural camouflage.
Yeah.
Oh, somewhere to grab? Yeah, I'll pull it. There you go.
All right.
That's it.
We've launched it and retrieved it.
It's a good sign.
So this is a great example of what we're trying to accomplish today. You can see on the side profile of the sonar here, this indicates where we've been, and this was about 250 feet. That was the level of the kind of like, I guess you could say the plains. Where it dropped off when we put the ROV was right here, right at the drop off. You can see now it goes all the way down to 800 feet right here. And then there's another little canyon, and then this, as we're progressing back to shore now, comes all the way back up to the surface. So we have this huge canyon that's not too far off from the shore, and that leads right up literally to the Redondo Beach Pier.
Did Ben find a UFO? No, but he exposed how easy it is for them to hide there. Even with world-class underwater video equipment, it's practically impossible to get a true look inside the underwater canyons below the famous military UFO sighting, the Tic Tac. Who knows what else could be lurking below? When anomalies leave the ocean, they head towards the sky, which is where viewers like you and military pilots often spot and report them. Next up, a UFO witness called Thor with a wild story. And he's also got a cute dog.
That is, his name is My Puppy. He goes everywhere with me.
Has My Puppy been on a lot of your journeys and everything out on the boat?
Past 8 years, yeah. He's been there every time with me.
Welcome back to this special edition of Reality Check on NewsNation. I'm your host, Ross Coulthart. The military videos of possible UAPs, known as the Tic Tac, Go Fast and Gimbal, have captivated us all for years and gone without acceptable explanation by the Pentagon. And there are countless sightings of strange lights and possible UFOs over the waters of our oceans every week. Thor Laizans is a boat captain who frequents the waters near Catalina Island.
These lights started appearing up in the sky.
Hard to find where the hell. Okay, where'd the third one go?
On the 13th of September 2021, Thor was on the water when he recorded this video showing 3 orange orbs. This is the same general area where the famous Tic Tac video was recorded by the US military, and above the deep and mysterious ocean caverns that Tim Gallaudet pointed us to.
While I was actually filming these lights, my friend called me on the telephone, asked me if I was okay. I'm like, what are you talking about? She said, well, I see lights out there. And I thought they might have been flares, like you were shooting flares out, because she knows my past and that I've had I've been stuck on boats stranded out in the ocean before, so she's just reassuring that I wasn't stuck on a boat.
So she could see them all the way from Catalina.
You know that Catalina is very rich in UFO history.
Thor's video was first tested for some kind of logical explanation by Discovery Channel investigators.
So the first thing we did was check the marine casualty database to see if anybody had an emergency or they had to shoot off an emergency flare.
The Marine Casualty Database tracks emergencies on the water, and that night nobody was firing flares. Nearby Camp Pendleton also telling this Discovery Channel investigative team there were no nighttime drills. Vandenberg Air Force Base did launch a SpaceX rocket with Starlink satellites that night, 155 miles north and 25 minutes before Thor's sighting. But these investigators say that doesn't explain this UFO, based off the trajectory of the rocket and the timing.
So we don't know what it is.
I personally think this is one of the most compelling cases that we've seen.
And Thor tells NewsNation's Ben Hansen in a brand new interview that was far from his only sighting.
Oh, wow. They came back.
We'll talk about the video first. So you have this amazing video of these kind of, would you describe them as orangish, amberish spheres, orbs?
Yeah, they look like miniature galaxies, to tell you the truth, yeah.
Okay.
Like when you're looking inside of them? Or what do you mean they look like a...
Like if you saw a picture of a galaxy, there's like this spiral like, I don't know, misty looking of stars or whatnot going on in there. Yeah. That's what they look like.
Your day job, you're a boat captain, correct?
Yeah, I do sport fishing charters here out of Dana Point Harbor.
Okay, how long have you been piloting boats?
I've been taking boats out of this harbor since I was a little kid. So like there's the houses on the cliff right over there. Those were always blocking my view. No, I grew up in this neighborhood, so this is like my backyard right here.
Okay, so many years of doing this. And that's what really interests us with your case, because how long would you say the total duration from when you saw these things? You have a couple minutes on that video, but if you were to say from start to stop on one set of those orangish lights, how long were they up in the air?
Probably, I was witnessing them flying close to my boat for about 10 minutes. There's some smaller ones off in the distance you don't see in the video, but It'd start out like as 3 orbs that were close together, like in a triangular pattern, and they'd all kind of they were changing colors from red, black, orange, some weird oddball stuff, and they would merge together as one, and then they'd split off. There'd be 2 of them, then there'd be 1, then there'd be 3 of them, and at certain points they'd just disappeared altogether and would just reappear. They'd drop down close to the water, like right above the water, and started coming towards me.
Really?
Until they finally just disappeared, and it looked like they disappeared down into the ocean at that point.
And the reason I fully believe you is because I've talked to a lot of people. We've had other witnesses, very, very similar, orangish lights. We're always trying to figure out, could they possibly be flares? That's why, because of our connections here, Silverado did contact some friends. And what did we learn then about the actual Navy exercises that night?
So we were able to establish at least a month prior to your sighting, there was a large-scale Navy exercise going off the coast, but it ended a month before your sighting happened.
Yeah. We're pretty confident in saying that this was not military exercises. It was nothing that was officially done by them. And if you do something unofficially, you're still probably going to use your exercise training area. There'd be no point to alarm, the regular citizens or cause safety issues. Because as a pilot, if someone's dropping an air flare in front of me, I am blinded, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that is not cool. So you also had a pretty incredible event take place.
So we're probably right around 5-7 miles off of Avalon towards this coast, a little bit south of there.
Okay.
And we drove over something, and I know the water's like probably like 1,400 feet deep, or it drops off really deep out there into the abyss, basically. And somewhere's along the line, we drove over something. I have no idea what it could have been, but as we drove over it for those few moments, it flashed lights up at us. Like, I'm talking like, it looked like baseball stadium lights just surrounding the boat, just beaming up all around us.
When you say drove over, was it already lit up and then you went over the top of it?
No,
or
it wasn't
came up after you were over?
It wasn't until we got directly over whatever it was when these lights came and just beamed all around the boat. Middle of the night, probably around 12 o'clock.
So it lit everything up.
Yeah.
Could you estimate kind of what the radius, how big it was around the boat?
I would say quite possibly half the size of a field.
Of a football field?
50 yards?
Yeah, about 50 yards.
Wow.
25 in all directions. And sat there the rest of the night with a gun in my hand waiting for something to come creeping out of the water. I was that scared.
Wow.
Like, I don't get scared easy, but that was a moment.
Now, this is a ridiculous question, but what would you tell people who said, oh, well, it's probably phosphorus and algae and the blooms we get, that sparkle?
Yeah, well, the phosphorescence, I've seen it all my life since I live right here. I mean, you catch like a little mackerel that's like a foot long and it looks like it's 10 feet when you're catching it at night with the phosphorescence. And it glows a green color. Like I said, baseball stadium lights that were bright white beaming up from the bottom or however deep it was down there.
I even got some information from an air traffic controller who said they had jets scrambled somewhere between here and the channel because I believe a pilot had witnessed something under the water. They said it was like the size of a city. All right, a light the size of a city, and so they went to check it out. So just know, well, you already know, you're not the first or the last to witness that type of phenomena. What it is, I don't know, but we're gonna look into it further.
They recorded something in the sky, like an anomaly.
They did. I was actually there. In the sky, they captured something on their IR camera. It was kind of like this dark part of the cloud and these objects that looked like they were around it, right? The same time, this same device, the Cosmic Watch, picked up an anomaly. This is where they did research and found that anomaly, they isolated it to somewhere within this very large area. I'm Ben Hansen, and this is Reality Check with Ross Coulthart on NewsNation. So we are at Long Beach Airport, and we're going to be taking off in this plane in just a minute. we're going to be exploring a couple of areas very unique to Southern California, where dozens, if not hundreds of witnesses have seen strange objects coming up out of the water, USOs.
Long Beach, Glen, Cessna 65537, Aces High for 26 right with India.
5, all ground traffic is 133.0, land and hold short operations at a 5.
26 right, taxi via Kilo, thank you, Cessna 527. All right, ready. Go.
All right, gauges are alive, airspeed's alive. Go. All right, so Newport Beach is just to the left of us under here. We're at 5,500. And we're cruising over the top of the airspace of John Wayne Airport. So from here, about this location over to Catalina is where Dr. Knuth and Szydagis, I never say his name right. He'll hate me for that. Anyways, this is where they did research and found that anomaly, they isolated it to somewhere within this very large area, all the way out to Catalina. Right. Right, and so it's really hard for us to pinpoint an exact area, so we're going to fly a track kind of back and forward down in this area to see if we have any anomalous sort of a reading show up in the particle detector. We're trying to stay out of the airspace of John Wayne Airport, and our GPS that's broadcasting what our ADS-B data we call it keeps disappearing. My plane resume on navigation. We keep disappearing. So my icon on my ADS-B data keeps disappearing. Now that's not totally uncommon, but in that same spot, as we went down and as we came back, right, it's malfunctioning. And if we go back and we see if there's any strange anomaly readings with the particle detector.
So this was weird, guys. Ross is gonna love this. No joke, in this one area around Laguna Beach, it was just in this area as we're going back and forth on this track, I lost GPS data. Now that's not too uncommon with device we use sometimes to go out, but it returns when I leave the area.
So Ben, these detectors that you were using, what are they? How do they work?
I went to Dr. Szydagis and I said, look, we're going to be going up in a plane. Our interviews, everything kind of pointed us to the idea that I think we should get up in the air and try to do a survey. But what do you survey with? We've got EMF fields, radiation, which I really know very little about. So the expert, Dr. Szydagis, said, well, we've got these particle detectors. So he lent them to me, gave me some basic instructions, and I had one of my team members, John, run that, and I'll let Dr. Szydagis explain when we turned over the data to him what he actually found.
Professor?
What happened was crazy, in my opinion. So first, one of them didn't work at all. That was not anomalous because equipment just doesn't work. Equipment fails. It's not anomalous. But one was working. But very strange is that when he got close to the area, on our famous hole in the sky, he didn't just experience GPS issues. That's a separate story. But we also found, when I looked at the data from the Cosmic Watch, it seemed to start rising faster than I would have expected naturally from cosmic rays with altitude. And then all of a sudden, the device just stopped working. And I've never seen it stop working in this exact failure mode. It just stopped taking data. And then when he left this roughly rectangular area, and when he's landing the plane, it resumed normal operation. And despite multiple attempts for me of testing the exact same unit that he shipped back to me, I could not replicate this failure mode where it just stopped taking data. I cannot explain this right now.
So, Professor, what's the takeaway from that? Are you now saying there is a portal, a tear in the sky, some kind of wormhole?
I'd love to be able to say that, but we don't have sufficient evidence of that because we don't have gravitational anomalies, gravitational waves like you would see from something like that. We are very far from being able to confirm something like that. I would love to be able to confirm something like that, but we are still in the scientific process, which is slow. Science is slow and boring. We're still not there. But where we are is we're better off than we were. We now have more evidence that there is something strange in the Catalina area.
Next up, is there a secret underwater base near Catalina Island? One of the leading experts on underwater UFOs is author and investigator Richard Dolan. Richard's the author of a series of books on USOs, unidentified submerged objects. He and I talked about the speculation, the possibility that there's some kind of secret underwater base off the coast of Catalina Island.
Catalina Island is clearly a UAP hotspot. What's going on?
What I can definitely say to you is that there is an inordinate number of truly fascinating UAP and USO cases in that area. One thing I wonder is what kind of military, if any, connection is there. Catalina Island is not far from the area where, of course, the USS Nimitz had its encounter with the famous Tic Tac UFO. We all know about that. And there are a number of other U.S. Navy operations going on down there by San Diego and all across the California coastline, in fact. So that's a factor that I often wonder, like, how does that fit into all of this? And I don't know if we have the full answer, but I can definitely say with confidence that there is a definite strangeness going on with that area, without a doubt.
Is it possible, Richard, that there's a base of non-human intelligences that's located itself somewhere underwater?
I definitely think it's possible, yes, Ross, I do. There are a few places on the planet where it seems to me that you've got a real potential for a non-human base, and I do think that Catalina Island or somewhere around that is a real possibility.
Well, that concludes our special edition of Reality Check on NewsNation, investigating USOs, unidentified submerged objects. It's interesting when you consider that 70% of the Earth's surface area is covered by our oceans, and we know so little about them. Small wonder then that so much of attention now is being directed towards our oceans as a possible explanation for the UFO UAP mystery. It's a very intriguing question. Are there some kind of alien life form living inside our oceans? Maybe the answer lies in the deep. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, Ross Coulthart. I'll see you again soon sometime.